This is 20 plus years of powdered graphite that I don't quite, I slowly add to it, then take it away, then add to it, then take it away, and you know, so it's slowly accumulating.
So is this how you want us to do our...
Well, this is what we're going to talk about. Is what I want to show you guys. You guys now know the meticulous way to do things. Okay. Well, and you need to do it meticulously first, so that you start understanding. You know, and at that slow pace, that crashing the car at 10 miles an hour pace. Okay. This is, do you remember me showing you those Paul Felix sketches, the Disney sketches where they were the gorilla and Tarzan and they had that graphite over? Okay, this is how he basically does those. Is he will have a line drawing and then he'll go, okay, you know, I need a tone up here. You see what I mean? And so what I'm going to do is a variant on that. Need a little more.
That's the collecting those.
Now, oh, if you don't have enough dust,
Take a graphite stick and do it?
you could do this with a graphite stick. You could do it with a graphite stick. You could take one of the pencils and just kind of shave it against a sandpaper pad, and you know, anything works. But this is like an old-fashioned rendering trick. Back in the days before Photoshop, this is the kind of thing that industrial designers would do a lot of.
For the line art, did you use like an inky pen or did you use a pencil?
For the line art, I printed Brandon's piece on my printer. And you'll notice I printed 2 of them. Yours is actually reading fine. The other people, their scans were rather faint, so they didn't come out very well. So you want to make sure that you have a fairly rich version.
So are we going to be able to scan and print, or do you want us to do it on an actual drawing?
Okay, let's talk about that. So what I'm showing you here is not how I would have you approach the final rendering. What this is this is like a comp. You know, so this is remember, the hard part of this is not going to be the rendering part. I mean, that's time consuming, but it's not hard. In the sense of you guys are already getting much better with your craft. You kind of know how to manipulate. You know, you know how to render a gradation, even if you can't do it flawlessly yet. Look at how much better you guys have gotten on a couple of projects. So that's really not the issue. That's just time. What this is this is the thinking. This is what I want you to understand logically about how to envision how to envision the lighting for such a scene. Okay. Now, so let's see. Let me do one other thing here. Okay. So what I'm going to have you guys do, what your assignment is going to be for the other classes, what I told them to do, since I knew that I was going to see them Wednesday, I said, all right, make a couple copies of this, like 2/3 size or half size. Try to do this really quickly just to kind of work out, oh, I'll have the light come from here, I'll have the light come from here, oh no, maybe I'll have it come from back there, you know, and try out some different lighting solutions to make it do what you want, all right, and make sure you're understanding it. Then once you find one that works, maybe do another one at full size like this with maybe a little bit more detail, okay? Then once you kind of have a plan, a tonal study for what you plan to do, then go do a rendering on illustration board with the flaps and the whole 9 yards and transferring it, and you know what I mean. But see, at that point, you shouldn't have to think as much about what you're doing. You should be able to have your rendering here that is going to be all nice and polished, and be able to look over here and say, oh yeah, okay, I need to make the gradation like that. So you can kind of plan it out in advance, and that will give you a much better rendering. You see? Do you guys see the logic of that? Now, what you're going to notice, Brandon, where were you thinking the light would come from?
I was having a kind of hard time trying to figure that out.
All right. Well, then I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'm kind of envisioning, let me study this a minute and
It's like
see what I want to do.
I wanted like to have some light like coming through like over on the right maybe, but I wasn't too sure.
This way?
Yeah, or even
That's
like
kind of
through
what I
the
was
buildings.
thinking. That's kind of what I was thinking too. What I'm kind of thinking is I'm just going to do some side lighting, I think. Actually, I kind of want to make this dark though. Maybe I'll do the side lighting from the other side. Yeah, I'll do the lighting coming in from this side. Because what that allows me to do is, well, here's the thing. Now that you guys sort of understand the, now that you guys understand kind of the, what am I trying to say? Now that you understand like the 3-value process, you know, dark, light, mid-tone, you know what I mean? When you have this kind of tone, it's the same thing. You guys see what I mean? White pencil, dark pencil. And so I'm going to kind of push and pull a little bit with these. Now, one thing I want to do, for instance, is if I'm going to have the light kind of come in from the side, okay, I might do something like this to start off with. Okay, so, and because I'm doing that, because if the light's coming in this way, and do you see that these guys would become one mass if I do this? Now I have to sort of change my angle a little bit. I taped this down, which has its advantages, but also has its disadvantages.
And then, so for the final, when we're rendering that, it's going to be on illustration board with graphite, so you want us to do the...
slower way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. What you'll notice is once you kind of understand this faster method, you can start to kind of do a little bit of both. Like there are places where you might use a brush with some powdered graphite to quickly do an area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are some tricks you can use, but the end result should be the same. The end result should be a very nice, delicate.
Is this your like dedicated graphite brush?
Now it is, as of yesterday. So I needed a brush, and it was what I had. Now, oh, one thing, you guys, what's the one issue with this brush that I should not have? Why I should not have used it?
Is it paintbrush?
Well, no, I mean, a paintbrush is fine, but it's a long-handled paintbrush. Long-handled paintbrushes, if you don't know, are for painting like this. Short-handled paintbrushes are for painting like this. If you try to use a long-handled paintbrush, doing this, you'll go, ow, ow. You know, so watch out for that. All right, now you guys, I'm going to do kind of a low, well, do you want a low light or a high light from the side? Do you want, what do you want, high elevation, low elevation?
Low. That'd be
Okay, low elevation. If it's low elevation, then I can pretty much take a lot of these sides and do stuff like this. And I could do stuff probably like this.
Everything already seems a little more possible now.
Yeah, well, no, do you see what I mean? That's why I wanted to show you guys, because you guys, I could tell you guys were really intimidated by this, but do you see that that actually is pretty easy? And, oh, and then you take your eraser, and, okay, well, that's going to catch a lot of light.
And so you don't want us to mechanically figure out the lighting for everything?
Here, not at first. I want you, what I would like you guys to do is, this is how I would approach a visual development project. Like, let's say I was doing Metropolis, okay? And if I'm doing Metropolis, I'm going to lay it all in, and then I'm going to play with it. And play with the lighting, and I'll do it from that, I'll have it backlit, you know, and so you start messing with it. but messing with it quickly, you know, to figure out what you want. Then when you know what you want, then you go and do your high-end rendering. But you don't do that from the beginning. That's a waste of time. You have to make too many decisions on the fly, and that's not going to work out well. Now the other thing is, notice that you get things like this. All of this, you'd have shadows coming off of here, and you see what I mean? So what I kind of want you to be thinking about, this is for planning. You know, so I can actually take all of this stuff and say, okay, all of that would be in shadow. You see what I mean? Because of the angle it's at. And you're going to have other areas like this. So what we're really talking about is planning. One of the other people, they had more of a top-down view. And we were talking about it yesterday, and they said, so could we do it as if the streets were lit up, but even though we can't see the streets, and the tops of the buildings are all dark, and the gradations are coming up from below, like street lights with multiple light sources? I said, yeah, you can do anything you want. You can look at anything you want for inspiration, for lighting. Now, the only thing I would tell you guys about this is, like this approach that I'm using for Brandon's is pretty simple. It's pretty simple light, directly from the side. You know, it makes it very easy to figure out. There were people saying, well, you know, can we get into multiple light sources? Can we have, you know, this real drama going on? Yeah, you can, but if as you're working on the planning, you're getting into deep water and you're starting to drown, simplify it. You know, take it to a simpler solution. I mean, I love it. I love to see you guys getting ambitious. I think it's really important as an art student that you be ambitious with such things. But at the same time, I would rather have you guys get to the end of this project and feel like you really learned something concrete without having to fake it so much. You see what I mean? And again, I know you guys are going to still have trouble with the mechanics. You get into the mechanics of how some of these shadows construct, it's formidable, all right? Especially for beginners. Okay, so I know you're going to have trouble with that. I'm not as worried about that part of it. I mean, because, yeah, I want you to do the best you can, but I expect you're going to, oh, you forgot a little shadow here, or that angle would go like this. What I want to see at the end of this, what I think would be really cool, is I want to see, I would love it if you guys came up with stuff where upper term people saw what you were doing and went, ooh, that's really good. You know what I mean? So I want it to be convincing, I want it to be impressive, I want it to be believable. Now, I may notice things that they don't, you know, but that's okay. You know, that's just like the real world. All right, so now, Brandon, what's going on with these? Are these inset?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right. That actually creates sort of a nice, you know, that creates a nice shadow in there. It'd be something like that. These guys are coming off to the side. I could even do something like this. See how that creates that sensation of this thing, a shadow falling over there? You know.
So we'd have to, for the final one, we'd have to calculate out exactly.
I would want you to try
as best as we
to.
can. Okay.
I would want you to try to. Now, you may or may not be able to handle it. That's okay. But give it a shot.
Yeah.
Give it a whack.
What size is the final supposed to be?
This size.
Okay.
It's what we were working on previously. So 1-to-1 with your previous Cube City.